Domain is an indie digital trading card game that features the concept of opposing otherworldly kings battling for conquest over each other. The game takes elements from chess and Magic the Gathering and melds them together into a new beast.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, or in this case, possibly digital cardboard rectangles. We have gathered to talk about the Domain TCG, which, as I mentioned, is an indie digital trading card game. Now, as for me, I'm a huge fan of card games. It doesn't matter whether they're physical cards or digital cards. I find both mediums to be quite enjoyable. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Domain TCG, specifically from the viewpoint of a Magic the Gathering player, okay? Because the game takes elements like a chessboard and chess piece movements and combine them with individual card units the same way that Magic the Gathering does to summon up different creatures and create an ever-changing battlefield state. So, let us dive in! So as I mentioned earlier in this video, the Domain TCG shares some elements in common with the game of chess. One of the biggest shared commonalities would be the board itself. Now, chess is played on a grid of 8 squares by 8 squares. Domain is played with a grid of 7 by 7 squares. So it is a tad bit smaller than a chessboard. But the big difference comes down to the tiles themselves. You'll notice all of these different tiles have different colors. And every time you play a game, they are going to be generated in a random fashion. So you're going to have a different board every time you play. And the board itself actually has gameplay effects. So there are 6 different types of terrain. You have Crystal, Wasteland, Oasis, Scorched, Ocean, and Swamp. Now, some of these terrains, your cards will specifically mention and gain bonuses from. But there are 2 terrains in particular that are of additional note because they have extra tactical bonuses that apply across all of your creatures. And that would be both the Crystal and the Oasis tiles. If your creatures reside in the Oasis tiles, then they will end up regenerating their health. If they reside in the Crystal tiles, then they will actually gain a defensive bonus. And these changes make it so that you have different strategic choices based on where you're placing your creatures on the board, which adds depth to the game. Now that we've discussed the board where the actual battle will be taking place, it's time to start discussing the cards. Now, the most important card in the game of Domain will always be your king card. In some ways, this is actually similar to Magic the Gathering's commander concept. You have one main character that is the biggest deal in your deck, and the rest of your deck, hopefully, is designed to take advantage of this leader style card. So on the screen, I have a couple examples of excellent options for your kings in this game. One is the Nebu Whale, which is an amazing astral whale that is floating through space with crazy waves of energy emanating off of it. And the other option that I have on the screen is Zera, who is a funky dragon that can actually basically acclimate to any terrain type. And these are just a couple of examples of your king cards. Now, unlike in Magic the Gathering, in Domain, you do not have a life total. You have creature cards that have hit point totals, very similar to toughness in Magic the Gathering, but as you can see, the hit points on these creatures is immense. And that is a good thing because you need your king to survive. As soon as your king is gone, the game is over. The concept of Domain to win is very straightforward. Eliminate your opponent's king while preserving your own king. Now, this adds an interesting strategic dilemma because you have 2 competing thoughts at the same time. One is that if I allow my king to take damage and put them out there into the battlefield, then my chances of losing are higher. So you're going to want to play defensively from that perspective. But on the other hand, these kings are incredibly powerful, and you start with them on the board. So you get to ignore the mana cost of actually summoning them up. So it's going to be your biggest weapon at the same time. And each of these different creatures has a range of different abilities. So for example, the Nebu Whale is more of a maneuverability concept. You can't see all of the wording of the ability on the card itself without hovering over them in game. But essentially, the idea behind the Nebu Whale is it allows you to manipulate and maneuver your opponent's creatures into different positions on the board. So you can literally force move them from spot to spot to give yourself an advantage. Whereas Zera is more of an aggressive style, where instead of maneuvering your opponent's creatures around, it's really just about gaining a benefit from whatever terrain Zera happens to be located on. So Zera actually gets a different bonus for each of the different types of game tiles. One of the things you'll want to pay special attention to in this game is how the cards move, because the game takes the card movement concept from chess. You know, in chess, how pieces have different particular movement patterns? The same thing is applied here in the game of Domain. So take, for example, the Taurus Dragon. You will see that its movement type is jump. And you can see that when you click on the card to move it, it will highlight the spots that you're able to jump to. When it comes to summoning up additional units, the location of your king is going to be very important, because you're only allowed to place new units directly adjacent to your king. So in this example, we're able to place this skeleton warrior directly beside the Taurus Dragon only. In terms of the gameplay itself, it's simple and straightforward and easy to learn. You start the game with each player having 4 cards in their hand, and much like Magic the Gathering, the second player is given a bonus to make up for the fact that they are going second. So they will get to start with 15 mana. Now, the way that the turn flows is you are able to play 1 card a turn. You are able to attack with all of your creatures each turn if there is a creature within range for them to attack. You can move all of your creatures every turn and activate their abilities. But remember, you have to activate your abilities before moving the cards. Once you've moved them, you've done everything you can do with those cards. And at the end of each turn, you get to draw a card. Now let's talk about card acquisition, because this is one of my favorite aspects of this game. When you first start out, you're going to be given the option between 3 different starter decks. Now, I selected the Astral starter deck, which apparently is the strongest of the 3 starter decks, according to the man who makes the game. So bear that in mind if you want the strongest deck to start out with. Now, other than that, how do you get your cards? You get them from booster packs. Here's the thing. When you start out, you start with enough resources to buy a ton of booster packs. And you can play this game as much as you want, acquiring more and more coins to get more booster packs without ever actually having to spend $1. I haven't seen any other free-to-play game where you can literally acquire everything in the game for free without hitting a brick wall. So if you're somebody who just wants to keep playing for hour after hour and accumulating more cards, you actually have the ability to do it. Unlike Magic Arena, which says, no, you've got your 15 wins, go away now. This game will allow you to play endlessly and continue to reward you. The game offers 3 distinct styles of play. You have single player, where you face off against AI, multiplayer, where you will play against other people across the internet, and the daunting tower mode, where you need to win 5 games in a row. But if you manage to accomplish it, the game will reward you with enough resources to buy 30 booster packs all at once. The game also features some nice atmospheric music. Have a listen. One more thing I'll point out about this game is it is challenging. When you start playing at first, you're probably going to have a difficult time, but after playing a number of games, you'll start to get the hang of it, and then you'll feel that satisfaction of overcoming the challenge. So in summary, Domain takes great elements of chess and Magic the Gathering, combines them together, is a free-to-play game where you can acquire everything the game has to offer for free, and you don't even have to download a game client. You can play it in literally any web browser. So, thanks for coming by, my friends. Big thank you to the creator of Domain TCG for supporting and sponsoring this video. And I will see you all, my friends, next time.